Cheers, guys. Epix 911, welcome to the Sunday, September 24th, 2017 edition of VR News. Start things off with HTC in China, and thanks to Tommy Rocker, one of the viewers of this channel, for this link. Much appreciated, Tommy. So in China, HTC trying some cloud streaming experimentation thanks to recent partnerships with Dalian Television and a Beijing company, CyberCloud. So typically, the two hurdles for mainstream adoption are price and physical constraints, the bulk of the item. A lot of people just still not wanting something heavy on their head. Hoping to address the price constraint, HTC is going to allow Chinese Vive units to connect to a set-top box and stream VR experiences and games over the internet. Service is going to be offered as a subscription package, complete with a 60 megabits broadband connection. There's two purchasing options available. The first, you can think of it as basically a lease/rental option. There's a $455 US refundable deposit, and then a monthly subscription of roughly $76. Option 2, this is the straight out purchase, a little bit more than the normal retail price of the unit at $1,055 US. However, that includes 1 year of the streaming service. So seems to be option 2 would be the one. There's currently limitations to what is being offered. There's a few dozen Viveport applications available, in addition to a library of 360-degree videos. That comes about as a result of the partnership with Dalian. Now, my biggest concern, and probably the concern of a lot of other people, is latency. HTC Chinese President Alvin Wang acknowledges there's latency, but says it's not enough latency to ruin the experience. Now, color me skeptical, but I'd want to hear some firsthand non-HTC accounts of this, preferably my own testing or somebody I know, before I, take that kind of a plunge of faith, essentially. Either way, very cool potential. Can't wait to hear more. As I do, I will let you guys know. Next up, ahead of Raw Data's 1.0 October 5th full version launch for Rift and Vive, and the October 10th PlayStation VR, the Survios devs sharing some surprising statistics. CTO Alex Silkin and design director Mike McTire were holding a panel at the VRDC this week and stated they wish they had started gathering the statistics earlier, but shared some of the surprising results of the data. For example, despite constant and repeated requests for additional maps and content, only 21% of the player base has even gone past the 5th mission, despite there being 10 levels in total. Another surprise stat, only 13% of players had even tried PvP. 80% of the players had only played the single-player experience, and 17% cooperative play. Now here's where things get interesting. So they added a new character. The character's name is Boss. There were some balancing issues initially, which were fixed despite the changes to damage output, etc. Only 7.5% of players were choosing the new character. 80% of the player base is Vive and 20% Rift. That one not surprising to me, but this one absolutely is. Probably the most interesting of the statistics, period. I've also got what, I feel is a satisfactory personal explanation for the results. I'll go over that in a second. But yeah, the most interesting stats are these between Vive and Rift players of the game. So there's a method of either using the sticky grip, where you grab something and it stays grabbed until you replace it with another item, or there's a hold where you hold the button while you're gripping the object, and as soon as you release the button, the object drops. Now, Vive users, 79% prefer the sticky grip. Rift, 21%. Vive, for the hold, the button technique, 3%. On Rift, 72%. And for toggling, 18 on Vive and 7 on Rift. It's almost a complete reversal of the statistics. Now, just out of curiosity, I fall under the Vive. I much prefer sticky grip to having to worry about a button. It's something that actually irritates me in games, but really interesting results that they would be that different. Now, I was talking about the explanation for some of these stats. I think it might have to do with the statistics. A lot of people were playing raw data early on and just simply haven't played since the updates. In other words, the 0.7 updates. Now, that would skew the data and make it look as if players weren't selecting the new character, they weren't selecting the multiplayer or the cooperative play. Statistically, they would look as if they were just doing single player, yet it's simply because they haven't played. Now, I'd love to get an explanation for how the data mining works. Is it over all time, or was it a point in time forward? If it was a point in time forward, what I'm saying is null and void, and absolutely those would be valid results. I suspect that isn't the case, though. I think these are global statistics that go before the patches added some of these features, but hopefully we'll find out. Lastly, the devs shared some interesting information. This is really more for other devs in terms of bundling advice and taking advantage of Steam sales, etc. They said even $2 or $3 discounts had an amazingly positive impact on units sold, and their advice: bundle any time and as often as you can. Those types of sales all help push the units. And their last piece of advice: port to as many platforms as possible. That's something we've pretty much said all along as a response to exclusivity, is do the opposite, publish to as many as you can, especially once the numbers start taking hold, and we're getting close to that point. Last story. This is a preview of a Western game. I've always loved Western games, especially the Rockstar Studios, the Red Dead Redemption. Just a lot of fun in terms of enjoyment. Arcade-based games, Gunsmoke, for example. Well, there's a game coming out called Guns and Stories Bulletproof VR. It's from developer MiroWin. And we've also stated, and the article does as well, that in order for a company to succeed as a wave-based game, they've got to bring something unique to the table. Those companies that don't and produce just another wave game, not distinguishable from any other wave-based game, they're simply not going to succeed. And I absolutely agree with that. What's the differentiator for their product? Well, they've gone into early access for both Rift and Vive. They've got 3 levels, a boss fight at the end of it. Where they hope to set themselves apart is how they handle the combat. So the game offers both close quarter and ranged combat opponents, each requiring different methods to dispatch and defend against, which, you take a game like Arizona Sunshine, for example. Whether the enemy is close or far away, it's essentially the same thing to take them down, a bullet to the head. Well, in this game, not the case. You've actually got to handle your opponents differently. You can also do some pretty cool stuff thanks to some cartoon-based physics. For example, in addition to dodging bullets, you can shoot bullets out of the air. You can even get lucky and redirect those bullets out of the air into one of the opponents that you're facing. And probably my favorite, and I love ragdoll physics, enemy combatants, when you shoot them, do the ragdoll physics dance and generally go about dying in a pretty comedic way. And it's that, the cartoony physics, that the devs hope is going to enable them to carve out a bit of a niche of fun and mayhem. Remains to be seen. I haven't actually tried this game, seen it in action. First I heard of it, but one I'm going to be keeping my eyes out for. And that's it for the news, guys. But I am curious. Let me throw a question out there. Those of you who purchased Project Cars 2, I read a few comments. One of you preferring Assetto still to this new game. Most of you agreeing it has a lot of potential. Apparently some bugs and performance issues still. But yeah, let me know what your updated feelings are on that game. Love to hear from you guys. And that is it for this Sunday episode. Work week ahead of us, guys. Fear not, we will be back again for the weekend soon. As always, guys, cheers.